going more. So I would definitely lean towards the under.
Moving on to a big game in the AFC East, the 7-5 New York Jets, coming off a tough loss against the Minnesota Vikings, travel to Buffalo to play the 9-3 Bills, who are now the number 1 seed in the AFC now that the Chiefs have fallen. This game is going to be on CBS. The Bills right now are a 9-point favorite. The over-under set at 44 points. Some gambling trends before we get to everyone's analysis. The Jets are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games following an against the spread loss. The Bills are 6-2-1 against the spread in their last 9 home games. The Jets are 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 meetings against the Bills in Buffalo. The under is 5-2 in the last 7 meetings between the two teams, and the under is 8-2 in the Bills' last 10 games overall. Adam, what are your thoughts on this big game in the AFC East?
Yeah, definitely a big game. The Jets won a couple weeks back against Buffalo in New York, 20-17. Buffalo coming off that win against New England. This will be their first home game since November 13th when they played Minnesota. If you remember, they had to go play in Detroit against Cleveland a few weeks back. White obviously has been playing a lot better. His last 2 games now, he started for the Jets. 684 yards through the air, although he did throw 2 interceptions in Minnesota. And Buffalo's defense the last 4 games has actually been giving up some points, 30, 23, 25, and then they finally kind of got right against New England when they only gave up 10. So Buffalo's defense can be scored upon. I think the numbers are a little bit skewed if you look at them. I think their defense can be run on, and you can throw the football on them. And with White, did put up 31 points and then 22 last week against Minnesota. And they did have some red zone misses, to Dennis's point early on. They had 2 opportunities to score in the red zone that went awry. So that could have been a little bit different situation there. But they went to Minnesota, which is a tough place to play, and they hung in there. Personally, I'm looking at this line at 9.5. And I buy this up over 10. I just think this is a complete disrespect to this Jets defense. I think this Jets defense is really good. They play with a lot of swagger. And not saying Buffalo isn't a good football team, because they certainly are a good football team. But, you know, we've been saying it for weeks, what Robert Saleh's been doing in New York. You know, they made the move from Wilson to White. Not that White can be the long-term solution, but obviously their offense is 100% better than what it was with Wilson. And I just think as a disrespect factor in a tight divisional game, again, double digits, even though Buffalo's at home, I love the Jets buying it up over 10.5 with this defense here.
Dennis, what's your take on this game?
Well, I appreciate Adam's sentiment in terms of watch the Jets play. The eyeball test shows you that intensity and that edge that they bring, and I love it as a fan. It makes you feel endeared to them. And offensively, they've finally shown some signs of life, notwithstanding the disaster in the fourth quarter against the Vikings. From a fantasy perspective, I'm going to stay with Wilson. He's been completely on fire with Mike the White Lotus. I think the Jets are probably going to be playing from behind. They'll be forced to throw. Wilson is White's favorite target. There were 15 targets last week, 8 targets the week before. I think you keep going with that and ride that until you see evidence otherwise.
I can see the T-shirts being printed now, Dennis. I love where your head's at.
Thanks.
Lope, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think I'm in agreement. Jets plus 9.5. It's just too many points. It's disrespect, especially division. Seeing each other a second time. I don't see the Bill. I see the Bills winning, but not blowing them out. And 8 of the Bills' last 10 games have gone under. And I think that's where it is. I think this Jets defense is for real, especially up front. They'll get after Josh Allen a little.
Love where everyone's analysis is. I feel very similarly. The Butt Fumble Sports pick for this one is Buffalo on the money line. The Jets to cover after you buy a 1.5. So I'm getting Jets plus 10.5. And the under after you buy a 1.5. So that's under 45.5. I think this is going to be a physical game. I think the Jets are upset that they lost that one. That was a very winnable game in Minnesota. So they're going to be coming back. And I think for the Bills, the only advantage that they really have is the extra few days of rest coming off a Thursday night game. But other than that, I think the Jets are well prepared for this game. Sauce Gardner going up against Stephon Diggs again. We spoke last week about Gardner versus Jefferson. Another game, another great matchup to watch. Really excited to see it. As for Mike White, he didn't make as many throws as I wanted him to make this past week, but you can see, especially between the 20s, the production inside the red zone, slightly different story. He needs to be better there. I think that's part of the reason I like the under. I could see both quarterbacks putting up a lot of yards, but I think points could become tough to come by. Both of these defenses get a lot of takeaways, so I see a couple turnovers in this one, but I just see a physical defensive battle. One trend that I really liked, I mentioned earlier, the Jets are 5-0 against the spread in the last 5 games following an against the spread loss. I didn't cash on them by just half a point. So the fact that they're losers last week makes me feel good this week, how that trend is going. So another reason for me to feel good about the Jets. I think it's a great opportunity. Appreciate all of you joining us tonight as we go through the early lines for NFL Week 14. If you have a question, if you want to engage with us, if you've got picks of your own, please reach out to us, join the conversation at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Butt Fumble Sports is a new sports content network that's made for real sports fans. We believe every fan can be on-air talent. Adam, Dennis, Lope, you guys are living examples of it. We so appreciate you joining us and the great analysis that they are providing. So please tweet out to others, engage with us. We want you to join this great community that we're